Hello and welcome back to my channel. So I know it's still early, but CASPA season is coming up and I thought I would start a CASPA series that kind of, videos that I think would have helped me while applying or just kind of getting everything prepared to apply. So I know I started my personal statement about this time last year, so I thought that I would start off my series with the personal statement video because I know that one is kind of the hardest part of your application, at least for a lot of people, because your experiences and everything, that's like a whole other story, but writing an essay that is 5,000 characters with spaces that explains why you want to be a PA, that includes all of your experiences and like story. There's just a lot that you have to include in such a little space to sell yourself to an admissions committee. There are so many questions when it comes to personal statement because obviously it's up to you, but how do you start? Do you open with a story? Do you open with a quote? Do you open with, there's so many ways to go about this that it makes it so difficult. So for me, when I was starting to write, I actually sat down. I don't remember exactly how long. I think it was about 3 minutes, but I recommend like 2 to 5 minutes with just blank pieces of paper, and time yourself and write at the top of your paper, why do you want to be a PA? Because that's essentially the essay question on CASPA, is why do you want to be a physician assistant? And so I put that on the top of my paper and I just sat and I wrote down every single reason why I would want to be a PA, experiences that have led me to wanting to be a PA, everything. It was a free write, so basically you cannot stop writing until that timer is done. So if you run out of time, or if you run out of, thinking of what to say, just write down anything at all. The reason I say write down anything is because sometimes when you're forced to think, you bring up, stories or times that you had that you didn't even think about. And those all collectively add up to why you want to be a PA. But at the end of that, you can kind of, look through everything that you wrote and decide, pick out, themes or common things that you can pull a few stories to create one overall theme of your personal statement, or, something might jump out at you and that may be the whole, thesis of your whole personal statement. So I know some people have crazy cool stories of why they want to be a PA. They've had, a disease their whole life, or they've, met a PA, it's just really crazy cool, stories. And I never had that. And to me, I was always intimidated because I never had the story of me having to, be at the hospital a lot and meeting a PA or anything where I can actually show a huge connection to the profession before I had started to, aspire to be a PA. So to me, I thought my personal statement is going to be not great. It's going to be nothing. I don't have some heartfelt story that, I'm going to have the people crying when they read it. So to me, I thought, wow, so my personal statement is going to be it's not going to be good. But I learned that that is just not true. I was just honest. I didn't try to come up with some crazy story or make some of my CNA experiences sound more chaotic than they were. I just really just said that I was interested in medicine, and that led me to wanting to see if I can do patient care. And then as soon as I, was involved in patient care, those experiences just really touched me and made me realize that this for sure was a career for me. If you have one of those crazy, really cool stories, then by all means, of course, include that. But if you don't feel bad and don't feel like how I felt, your personal statement will be very strong if you just are honest and true and just say your experiences, tell your experiences, be relatable, and show how you are compassionate in those moments. So I personally decided to start my essay with a story. I did have, tried to make it interesting, so they kept wanting to read, not like a cliffhanger, but you create a little bit of a dramatic pause in certain sentences and build up to your story. But it was basically just a story of a patient who was kind of known as a difficult patient and just ended up being just very misunderstood. And I just showed her, I treated her like a human, and one of the, she told me a quote, and I'll never forget that when she told me, as she looked at me, she said, "You're the only one that treats me like a human in here." And that touched me, and I didn't realize until a month later. I was like, wow, that really impacted me, and that really has impacted how I want to provide care, and that was something that was monumental to me, so that I included that in my personal statement. Another thing that is really important to do in your personal statement is to show experiences. So yeah, tell stories, of course, and say what your experiences were. But if you're gonna say you really like helping underserved people, it brings joy to your life, yada yada, you need to have an experience that backs that up, that shows that you actually have gone out and done that. So you can't just say, I really like working with the elderly population, and have no experience, nothing on your CASPA application, nothing to back that up. If you're gonna say that you're about something on your essay, you have to be about it. Another thing about your personal statement that I think a lot of people are kind of scared to do sometimes is include non-PA stuff in your personal statement. I have seen so many people, like really, really good essays, include things that are big in their life aside from medicine. So I've seen people include sports, like analogies in there. I've seen people include like art, you know, analogies. There's like a link of like 31 personal statements, and I'll link it below, that like helps you see how it's like a bunch of examples. But anyways, one of them weaves the idea of like art and how she did art when she was young, and now her art tools and her paint supplies are now going to switch into medical tools. So I thought like just the idea of that, and like she worded all of her experiences, you know, with that kind of like theme, and I thought that was absolutely amazing. And I didn't have anything like that to do that. But if you're someone else who has a really big, you know, role outside of medicine or outside of your pre-PA stuff, you can always include that in your personal statement as long as it connects to why you want to be a PA. Another thing that's really good to do in your personal statement, if you have the room of course, is to include a little paragraph maybe of if you had any discrepancies in your CASPA application. So for me, I had a C in chemistry. So I actually put one of my paragraphs starts with me finding the PA profession was perfect timing, as I had just gotten a C in my general chemistry class, because I didn't really have an idea of what career I wanted to do, so I didn't have that motivation in the back of my head to make me want to get an A in that class. I was always a motivated person, but when I started having a career to reach towards, that's when like everything kind of clicked, and I was like, from now on, I have to be good. So if you have any moments like that, or if you have anything in your application that may not be the greatest, this is also a really good time to address it and kind of say how you've grown from it and how you've changed, in your future actions. So another thing your personal statement kind of shows about what they're looking for in it is to see if you understand the PA profession, like what you're getting into. So a good way to do this is to show either if you've worked with PAs or if you shadow PAs, to kind of show how much you've learned about the profession itself and what PAs can do throughout those experiences. And you can't just say, I really like lateral mobility, and then like leave it at that. Like if you say, you have to include an example of, or like a reason why that really connects to you. So if you have grown up being on sports teams and you like the whole teamwork and collaboration, then you can say, that's why I like the PA profession, because much like my time on that football team, I really got to enjoy having a team, and relate that to PA, but then show that you've done that before. I'll also include a link that I used that kind of helped me format my essay. I didn't do it exactly how this like layout says, but it really helps me kind of break everything up and realize what I wanted to get done with each paragraph, like what each paragraph was showing to the reader, because I didn't want them all to have the same message. Like I wanted them to read one paragraph and say, oh, she's really compassionate. The second paragraph, like, oh, she really wants to travel and help people in the underserved populations. So I wanted to make sure every paragraph I had a purpose, and this layout really helped me do that, so I'll be sure to link that below. I know that there's like a lot of information and a lot of ideas, and people have a lot of opinions of what personal statements should be, but at the end of the day, you just have to be honest, because they want to see what your journey is, and they want to see why you want to be a PA, not why everybody else wants to be a PA. And especially if you come to your interview and you don't emulate what you put in your personal statement or on your application, they're going to see that. So just be honest to yourself, to the committee, and just put your experiences out there. But at the end of the day, they just want to know who you are. So if you just proper grammar, good experiences, just genuinely show who you are, show concrete examples of how you've shown that to other people and how you've treated patients with that kind of care, and you're solid. I personally am not going to post my personal statement online ever, probably, but if you want to look at it, or if you have any other questions about my personal statement, I did have it professionally edited. I didn't pay for it, I won it in a giveaway, so I got really lucky, and then I had a multitude of people read it. I had people outside of the medical field read it, and I've had like an advisor read it. So I'm not saying it's like the most perfect essay ever, but it did have a lot of people reading it, and they all agreed it was pretty good, and I got in, so it must have been okay. But if you have any questions about my personal statement or kind of my writing process or whatever, I will be happy to read them, edit them. I'm not an English major, but I do like editing. So if you need any help or whatever, you can always contact me either on this YouTube page or on my Instagram at whitecoatchasing. But thank you so much for listening to all my ramblings about personal statements, and I hope you have a really great day. Bye.